Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andrea and in this channel we talk all things business, mindset, edtech, online teaching, teaching in general and many more things that interest me. So if any of those topics interest you, then consider subscribing. In today's video, we are going to be addressing some of the things that you need to bear in mind before applying for a job abroad. And this can also apply like if you are applying for jobs in your hometown or in your city. But some of these I believe are pretty specific if you are a language teacher wanting to basically live and work as an English teacher in Europe or in Asia or any other country. But my experience basically consists of Europe, Eastern Europe and Western Europe. So that's what I'm going to be talking about, but many of these things can be applied to other scenarios as well. So this is one of the first videos of a series that I am working on, which is how to work abroad as an English teacher. And the reason why I'm recording the first video and I'm recording this video around like mindset and things that you need to bear in mind is because before even working on your CV, before even taking courses and stuff, I'm pretty sure you have to have a different perspective on things before applying for a job abroad. Again, everything that I'm going to say here is my experience, my opinion, and the things that I have observed while working abroad and or reading online in different ELT groups for teachers. So if you have something that you'd like to share, the comment section is open and my DMs on Instagram, they are also open. So if you want to chat, or if you'd like to tell me something, or if you would like to share your experience, make sure to do so by sending me a message on Instagram. I'm going to leave the link in the description box, and you can also of course comment down below what your thoughts are regarding this topic. Now, without further ado, let's start. The first thing that I'd like to address is this. You will be discriminated against if you're not white, if you're not European, and if you're not from North America. And by North America, I'm just talking about Canada and the United States, not even Mexico. And sadly, this is true in so many cases, because not only people who are not white and people who are not European, they get paid less, but also if you are not a native speaker of the language, your rates are going to be, your salary is going to be lower than those of your peers who are white, who are European, or whose mother tongue is English. And this is something that you need to be like really strong to accept, that there will be companies that will reject you, even if you have a master's, even if you have a PhD in English language teaching, even if you have a C2 proficiency Cambridge exam that certifies that you are a proficient user of the language. They will reject you, basically because sometimes, and by sometimes I mean like 70, 80, probably 90% of their marketing is around their students learning the language from native speakers of English. And even though we all know that native speakers are not better teachers than non-native teachers, and non-native teachers are not better teachers than native speakers, and that everything should not rely on, how you learned your language or where you grew up, there is this sense that if you apply for a job and they give you the job and then the parents or the students find out you are not a native speaker of the language, they will have to deal with a lot of complaints, because basically, again, the whole reason why many of their students are learning in a language school is because they want to be in touch with native speakers, because if they grew up with the language, and if they know the language by heart, then that means that they are better at teaching it. Which is completely false, but that's a topic for a different video. So that's something that you need to bear in mind. I think I have not been discriminated against because I am white and I am a Latina, but yeah, I am non-European and I am not from North America, not from the US, not from Canada. So I have suffered discrimination. I unfortunately have had to go through that, but not in that sense. I cannot speak for Black people, Asian people, or I don't know, people from other ethnicity or from other races, because of course I am not them. But if you Google or if you go on YouTube and if you want to read or listen to the experiences of Black people, Asian people, basically non-native speakers of the language who are working as language teachers abroad, you will find that this is a common and unfortunately reoccurrence topic. So do your research and be prepared to be told that they cannot hire you because you are a non-native speaker of the language. Now, the next thing that you have to know is that out of the 100 emails that you send, you're gonna get, I don't know, 90 if they reply, because that's a different thing. Like if they happen to reply, you will hear more no's than yeses. And at first, when I started to apply for jobs abroad, I think that it was like quite difficult and demotivating to be receiving so many no's. And it wasn't because I didn't have the qualifications. It wasn't because I didn't have the experience. It was basically because I didn't have like a work visa. I didn't have a work visa, a work permit, whatever. And more often than not, it was because I could not get one and they would not sponsor one because I was not from certain countries. And I think that even though it's motivating at first, I think that the first time that I started applying for jobs, I applied for like 30 jobs every day. And I got so many no's, and so many of them did not even reply. And you have to accept this, and you still have to look beyond it. And if this is something that you really want, you have to continue until you find someone who says yes, because all you need is just one person who wants to interview you and one person who wants to hire you. And however, this is like a topic for a different video, but if so many people are replying and you're not getting an interview, and the reasons are not because, oh, you are not a native speaker, or we cannot provide you with a work visa, which is understandable, I just have to check probably if the email that you sent was well written, what you included in the email, and also your resume or your CV. Another reason why many people will not hire you is because they do not process, they do not apply, they do not help candidates get work visas. And this can be something that is understandable in the sense that there are certain countries which have certain laws in place that do not allow companies to hire candidates from certain nationalities, or candidates, who have a certain passport. This is the case for example, South Korea, which does not allow companies to hire language teachers, English language teachers, unless they are from countries such as the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, Australia, and sometimes South Africa and India. And these are things that, of course, we cannot change. But there are other countries that will say that due to work visas or work permits, they will only consider candidates from the UK, the USA, Canada, and so on and so forth. When in fact, if you really read the laws that they have, like the country's laws, they do not specify any of this. So what they do is they basically push away many candidates who are great candidates who don't have the nationality that they want, simply because they, again, their whole marketing is based on learning from native speakers. And this is the case for many Chinese companies, for many companies based in Europe as well as companies in Japan. And personally, I have read 2 or 3 job ads the past few months. These job ads were posted by European companies that, more often than not, in the past, before the whole Brexit thing, they were only hiring people who had the right to work in the EU, in the European Union. And after Brexit, now apparently they can help candidates with work visas as long as they are from the UK. So you see where I'm going? So it's not always a matter of, we're not able to, but a matter of we don't want to. And this is also something that you have to read, and I'm gonna give you some tips regarding how to look out for these things and how to prevent you from being rejected early on in your application process in the following videos. So if you want to watch them, then make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. You can also comment your questions and I'll make sure to answer them as soon as possible. Now, this is a topic that personally I have not experienced quite a lot, but I have at the same time. But the thing is that you are going to be asked to complete pre-interview tasks. This happened to me 2 or 3 times. And it was only after one of them. So yeah, I did this like 3 times, sorry. I did this 3 times. And out of the 3, after sending the pre-tasks activities, I was able to get an interview, and then I was able to get the job. But the other 2 pre-tasks that I did, once I sent them, I didn't get I didn't get a response, not even a thank you. So that's also something to bear in mind. These pre-interview tasks are basically things that allow the company to know if you are able to basically do what you say in your CV that you're able to do. So for example, they might send you what I did was I was sent a scanned copy of 2 or 3 pages from a book, and I was told to prepare a lesson plan using the materials that they sent me, so using these scanned copies. So what they wanted to do was to check if I was able, first of all, to write a good lesson plan, second of all, to use the materials that they sent me, third of all, to not only just grab the material and do what the book says, but also how I was able to adapt and basically do more or change or omit certain activities, and also give my reasoning as to why I would do it. And this is helpful for them to know if you're capable of doing what they want you to do if you happen to get the job. And I did this, and after doing that, I got the interview. And during the interview, they asked me they asked me my reasoning behind many of the decisions that I made, why I decided to not do one activity, why I decided to do an activity in a certain way, why I decided to just keep one of the activities. And we went through all of that, as well, of course, as well as answering any other questions. But that is basically what they look out for in a candidate, in the sense that if their company is telling teachers that they have to use this certain method, then if they give you a pre-interview task, then how you are able to take the way that the company does things and adapt that thing that they're telling you. The way that you do that is gonna say a lot about how much you can adapt, and I think that that's basically what they want. So yes, that's also something that I have had to do, and I'm not kidding when I say that this can take time, especially depending on what the pre-interview task is. The first time that I was sent one of these, it was just the same, like one pre-interview task for every candidate. But the second or third time that I was sent a pre-interview task, I had to choose between two of them. And yeah, that takes time. So if they happen to send you that, you are probably going to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours, or even more doing that pre-interview task. Now, this one is actually a mistake that I made once I was applying. I remember that I was interviewing with a Vietnamese language school, and they told me that they were looking for teachers and that they liked my profile. So they asked me to book an interview with one of the like a senior human resources something. Don't remember who that person was, but they were going to interview me, and they sent me a link for me to book an interview with them. So because I was not seriously like in a rush, I booked an interview from I think I booked the interview for like 4 or 5 days after, of course, getting sent that link to book. And one day after booking, they told me that they were no longer going to be interviewing me because they already had the candidates that they wanted to. So basically, because I waited that long for the interview, even though it was possible to look like to book like 5 days, 6 days, 7 days in advance, because they had already interviewed probably many candidates, they did not want to interview more because they just thought that, okay, we just have like 10 people. We know that the candidate that we're looking for is gonna come out of these 10 candidates. Why would we interview more? And this is why I am telling you now that you have to be ready to have interviews as soon as possible. Let's just say that you sent an email, they send you the pre-interview task, you send the pre-interview task, they tell you when you can have an interview, they ask you like when you can have an interview, and you have to say like, okay, in the next 24 hours, if it's Friday, what about Monday morning? If it's Friday night, if it's Monday night, what about tomorrow morning? Like, try to be as readily available as humanly possible, because what might end up happening is that if you decide to have an interview 5 days from now, it's highly likely that they're going to be interviewing other candidates in those 4 days that they have until your interview. And if they like one of those candidates, it's highly likely that they're going to go with that one instead of continuing the interview process with the rest of us. So that's also something to bear in mind. Learn from my mistakes, people. Now, this is another great example of why you should be doing your research before applying for places, and not just apply randomly. I have done so I can tell you that, but this is also something that's gonna save you a lot of money in therapy, and that is to not believe everything that they tell you during the interview, because what they tell you during the interview is basically them telling you the best they can so that you, in case you're offered the job, you want to work at a certain place. And what they say during the interview may or may not be true, or it can be partially true. From my experience, I have been told during an interview that I was going to be able to like do different courses so that I could like advance and develop professionally and stuff. But the reality was, when I got to that place, I took the job, I got in, and I started working there, I couldn't do many of these courses because there was a timetable clash. So basically I was teaching when the courses were taking place. And of course, this is not like a company's issue per se, but the reality is that when it continues to happen and you're not able to do all of the courses that they promised you, it becomes quite annoying. Because if professional development was one of the reasons why you choose to work abroad, and then they tell you no, you cannot do these courses because you have to teach, it can be quite bothersome. And not only that, but also what they tell you about the job is usually the best version, and the refined version, the curated version, and you don't hear from people who may be working there and who have a different view or a different perspective about what the job takes. And this is particularly the case because once you're interviewing with someone, they are either managers or they are the owners of the school. Probably if it's a very like small school, language school, they are the owners or they are the managers. And more often than not, the owners are not even language teachers. And the managers do not have the same amount of teaching hours as a regular teacher. So you're going to hear from their perspective, from their experience, and not from the experience of someone who is on a full-time contract, which I believe that should be, I believe it's great to have the opinion of someone who is doing the job that you want to do. Another thing you have to bear in mind, especially if you come from a country where it's very difficult to get foreign currency, such as Argentina, is the fact that if you are applying for jobs abroad, it's highly likely that you are going to have to pay for flights, and you're going to be paying for accommodation at first, and you're going to paying for food until you get your first paycheck. So one of the things that I have read in many job ads is the fact that companies do pay certain candidates for do pay for their flights, but up to a certain amount. For example, in Europe, usually the amount is usually around 100 euros, 150, or they pay those flights if you travel through a low-cost airline like Ryanair, EasyJet, or Wizz. But the reality is that if you want to work in Europe and if you are now located in Argentina, the cheapest one-way flight is going to be around 400 or 500 euros. And yeah, that money is definitely not enough. So if you're applying for jobs, you have to bear in mind that many of them will not give you money to pay for flights. And if they do, this amount is a capped amount. And more often than not, that's not going to be enough for you to cover your travel expenses. And so if you're applying for jobs, make sure to have at least enough money for you to survive the first month, enough money for you to pay for like travel insurance, health insurance or something, and to pay for flights, one-way or two-way ticket. If you happen to have any comments or questions, make sure to leave them in the comment box. I'll see you around. Bye bye.